Well, Deloitte Canada releasing its latest energy forecast report, and there is some good news and maybe not so good news for Alberta. Andrew Botterill from Deloitte Canada joining us this morning. Andrew, thanks for taking time for us, and maybe let's start with perhaps the most optimistic, the area of natural gas. There is some optimism there for sure.
Good morning, Jefferson. Yeah, it certainly is optimistic. We've seen a tough couple years as the Western Basin has drilled a lot of natural gas and getting ready for LNG Canada. And we're now at a point now where we're seeing exports off the West Coast. And as we see those projects that are on the West Coast start to get into longer, sustained, ramped up production, I think we're going to see some really good prices ahead, especially into the fall and into 2026.
So price is obviously great if you are on the production side of it, maybe not so much for natural gas if you're on the consumer side of it. Could be concern in the winter. How high could we see prices go for just heating our homes?
Absolutely. Natural gas prices were soft last year. In the winter, it was much cheaper to heat our home. We should expect that we're going to be spending more for our furnaces and heating our home this winter. You know, when we look back at last year, it was $1.39 per MCF. And we could end this year somewhere close to $2.20 per MCF is what we're forecasting. So it is going to be a little bit more expensive for consumers, but all in all, good for the entire basin as we're looking at jobs and drilling and filling out that production from Western Canada.
So good news on the whole, probably for most folks in Alberta. Let's talk about let's talk about concerns around oil. This is, of course, in terms of OPEC plus production and the potential for them to ramp up.
There certainly is, and for a couple months now, and a couple more months are coming up. We know that OPEC is going to be releasing more volumes. We are in an oversupplied situation around the globe, and so there is some headwinds ahead. We're still talking about, we're sitting at high $60 oil, even with the OPEC production that has come into the market in the last few months. So what is good to see is that we're seeing really firm demand out there. And even with OPEC increasing, we're still talking about, high $60 oil, I think, which is good, not great, but good. And what Canadian companies are getting is they're also getting the benefit of a tougher exchange rate with the U.S. So as we're selling volumes into the U.S., we're benefiting from a soft exchange rate. So it's not all bad news, but, we would certainly love to see $70 and $80 oil.
Let's talk a little bit maybe sort of on the longer term outlook. Where is optimism generally in the sector and in terms of investment here in Alberta?
Well, we see a lot of business as usual. There's some good opportunity for companies to be smart with their capital, continue to grow production. There's a little bit more room in that. But of course, the talk in the last few months around big infrastructure building, opportunities to broaden our markets. When we look at the Trans Mountain expansion that happened earlier this year, look at LNG Canada, I think what we're seeing now is the case and recognizing that, having the United States as our only customer hasn't always been the best for us. And those extra sales points are propping up prices for Canada, getting higher value for our products in Canada. And I think there's the recognition with politics and everything that's been going on in the last little while that there's an opportunity here to invest in more made in Canada projects, invest in infrastructure, get our resources to other sales points. And, those conversations in the last 6 months are things that we haven't seen for almost a decade. And I think there is some optimism. These are big projects that need to be built, and they're complicated and they will take time. But the fact that we're looking at these made in Canada solutions, I think is a really good idea.
Okay, great snapshot into what's happening in the sector. Appreciate it, Andrew. That is Andrew Botterill from Deloitte Canada.
Thanks.
Thanks.